going to be talking about in this podcast, though, is the part where she always says, I'm building something. And would you want to be in the middle of that plan? That kind of stuff. My partner in life, Earl, would always laugh at me when I do Anna Delvey impersonation, which I'm going to be doing a lot in this episode. Hey there, welcome to the Marketer's Lounge podcast. This is your host, Demi Bernice. This is Demi Bernice. Either way, the introduction is correct. So today is episode 6 already, and I'm so excited because I think that this is one of my favorite series so far in Netflix, next to Black Mirror, Inventing Anna, ladies and gentlemen, by Shonda Rhimes. So Shonda Rhimes has produced quite a bit of series out there that are really good, like Grey's Anatomy, Bridgerton, and then Inventing Anna. It's awesome to have an inner look or a depth of field or whatever that is, like a super in-depth vision of who Anna Sorokin is, who is this supposedly German heiress from Germany, apparently. Yeah, went to New York, lived the elite life for many, many years, and duped a lot of people, she didn't really go around telling people that she was a German heiress, but she lived it. And so to a lot of people, it was not a surprise that she is the breathing, living thing of fashion. And she is the breathing, living thing of luxury. So, yeah. It's a very interesting series to me. It's a limited series. I'm not sure if there's a Inventing Anna 2. But it's crazy to think that we have this series over here that made us love this person who is actually a con artist. And that is because it was beautifully filmed. It's not necessarily made to make us love scam artists. It's not like that. It's just like how Rachel Williams says it is. So this is going to be a major spoiler alert, you guys. So I'm going to be mentioning a lot of names, a lot of things that happened in the movie that you might have not watched yet. So if you do not want to be spoiled, then might as well listen to the other episodes of TMLP. But then again, if you are willing to open the Pandora's box in Inventing Anna's world, I'm here for you, darling, and we are going to start right now. So the question of this podcast is Anna Delvey a true businesswoman? Yes or no? So let's do a little bit of a background first. So she is apparently from Russia. She transferred to Germany together with his dad, and I didn't really see how her mom came into play from transferring from Russia to Germany, but that's how the movie was portrayed. And then she consumed a lot of fashion magazines growing up, and so that's why she was able to really dress and live the luxury life of being an heiress. Apparently, she is not Anna Delvey, but she is Anna Sorokin, to which she says that Delvey is her mother's maiden name, but is not. And then that was also later revealed in the series. Yeah, so it's a lot to take in. It's crazy also how people believed her. That one to me is like the most crazy part of the movie, is that in the movie, it was obvious that she got nothing. Like, it was so obvious that she doesn't have anything in her bank account. But then people still believed her. It's ridiculous how she was able to charm people like that. It's like, oh, how? Because to me personally, if Anna Delvey would come up to me and like talk to me and whatever, I wouldn't understand, or I wouldn't fathom. I cannot fathom exactly how her would be able to tell you by just the non-verbal language that she is a German Irish, she's rich, I'm fashionable, etc., and then you believe it. So I have to be there in order to believe. I have to be able to see her in person. But when it comes to interviews, if you're going to look at her in-person interviews in a lot of the YouTube videos that are found out there, she is very likable. She is. I'm like looking at her and she's like, oh my God, she's beautiful. Like, legit, she knows how to dress. And like what I said, she's the breathing, living thing of fashion. And so it's very easy to like her. She's she's legit. She's beautiful. Like, that's what I can say. She doesn't need a lot of makeup on. She's beautiful in itself. And so, yeah. What we're going to be talking about in this podcast, though, is the part where she always says, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm a businesswoman, I'm building something, yada, 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 yada. Like, I'm building something. And would you want to be in the middle of that plan? That kind of stuff. My partner in life, Earl, would always laugh at me when I do Anna Delvey in impersonation, which I'm going to be doing a lot in this episode. But let us first tackle why I think Anna Delvey is not a true businesswoman. So a lot of people also use the word entrepreneur and businesswoman and businessman in their lives, and then later on we find out that they're not that. So I'm trying to also tackle why I think Anna Delvey is not a businesswoman in my own knowledge, if that's even valid. But this is just my opinion on it. So number one, she was concerned about making a name more than making other people's lives better. So with Anna Delvey Foundation, I did not understand why it exists. To be honest, it's sort of like a hotel, museum, art, whatever. I guess she has a knack for art. And that's really good. I do not have a knack on art, I wouldn't think. I mean, like, legit, like painting and all. I could perhaps make my own art thingy, but it's not going to be as elite of a taste as Anna Delvey's. Yeah, she does have a knack on art, most especially when that rich woman was with her in that gallery museum talking about a photo of a girl in black and white. She was able to articulate it well according to the movie, and that in itself is something, right? But what I do not understand is, why is ADF there? What's the mission? What's the vision? Why is it there in the first place? And the way that it is portrayed in the movie, at least, okay? So I'm basing everything, all of my opinions, according to the series that I have watched, not based on facts. So you have to also understand where I'm coming from, okay? I could be wrong. That's all right. I'm just putting my opinions on this very matter. So talking about Anna Delvey Foundation, it was this hotel, bar, museum, art thingy combination of this whole thing for rich people. You're not going to be able to enter if you're not part of the elite list. And nobody talked about how it's going to make other people's lives better. What problem was it actually solving? You could probably argue that they are solving comfort of the rich. Oh my God, I am so sorry. My babies are running around the house right now, so you're going to be hearing a little bit of, noise, but I hope you're not hearing it too much. Anyway, so yeah, we're arguing about what problem is the ADF solving in itself. Because if you are a business person, if you're an entrepreneur, you are creating something that is going to make other people's lives better, let alone solving people's problems. So I did not see that in ADF. It's more of like a luxury. To me, I could live without ADF, basically. So there wasn't any sort of demand. There probably is. I do not understand really. I cannot fathom how it works. To me in itself, I would say that business is a business if it's solving other people's problems, like it's making other people's lives better at the very least, right? So a coffee shop is there to make other people's lives better, because if you're a coffee enthusiast, then you need coffee every single day in your life, and you need a coffee shop to work at. In some way, shape, or form, it should be providing people with a solution to a specific problem. And yeah, apparently I'm not seeing it in ADF. So if you could explain it to me a little bit. I hope that, Anna Delvey is not going to get bored one day and go to Spotify or Apple Podcasts and then search her name, Anna Delvey, and then, stumble upon TMLP. It's such an honor for you to click on this podcast, Anna Delvey, and I hope you're not going to sue me for this. She'd be like, Demi, you are dad to me. I have listened to the whole TMLP episode and I do not like it. Literally. Oh my God, we are dead. Shut down the whole TMLP podcast because you have mentioned Anna Delvey in one episode. I hope not. But again, this is just my opinion on what the movie is about. I'm not like trying to defend myself already. Okay, so that was my number one. Second is she doesn't know a lot of her numbers. So for example, how much money is she going to make with ADF? That wasn't really portrayed in the series, at least. People were not saying how much the entrance is going to be. No one talked about it. How much money is she going to make, right? It was just all about making this huge foundation to let Anna Delvey be known as this person who has this really nice foundation. It's exquisite, it's luxurious, but no one really talked about if she was really a businesswoman and an entrepreneur. No one really talked about how much people are going to pay in order to enter and like how much money are they going to spend inside. I guess the movie or the series in itself wasn't really about entrepreneurship, but I would love to know those numbers, right? Like how much is it going to cost for one person to enter Anna Delvey Foundation? And then like, how are they going to get in? That would be interesting to me, because if we're going to talk about it, the whole thing is worth $40 million. And then that is just the building, the renovation, and to get it all done. So imagine how much money is she supposed to make in order to get that all back? How much does she need to make every single day in order to pay Fortress? Because it's a big ass loan, right? So that would also lead me to my next concern, which is $40 million is too big of a capital for someone who does not have an existing business. So I would think for a person who is trying to loan $40 million to create a foundation or whatever building that was, I would think that you would have an existing business, stocks, shares, or a really booming business at the side to be able to get that kind of loan, to be able to create a business that big. Because if this is your first business, I would think that's stupid to loan that kind of money and to make everything uncertain, right? So the business in itself, the ADF, was too uncertain for it to be your first business at a rate of $40 million. It's ridiculous. So you would even think that small businesses, your very first business, should have a very small capital, like something that you have right now in your pocket at this very moment would be the capital of your first business. And then your second business would be awesome already, because then you have a running income, right? You have a runaway, and then you can use that money to invest or to start another business. And then you have a bigger capital on that second business already. But to have a $40 million thingy just to finish everything, the building, whatever that is, I would think that you would have more businesses at the side to fund that. No, so yeah, it's a really different money decision making thing. She was just so stubborn to make it happen that she didn't even think about it. It was more of like, okay, I'm going to loan $40 million in Fortress and pretend that I am a German heiress, but I don't have a running income. So basically I am, even if let's say she was indeed a German heiress and she loaned $40 million from Fortress, that's basically 1/2 or 3/4 of what her, I was going to say dowry because of Bridgerton, but yeah, that's probably 1/3 or 3/4 of what she has in her heir thingy. I would think that. And that is not a very wise money decision. Still, that's a lot of money to have in your first business. And it being so uncertain, you're not sure how many people you're going to get in. And she was just thinking that it's all going to happen. It's all going to be amazing. It's going to be booming. It's really very close to delusion. Like, I am a positive person myself, but you have to always go back to what reality is, you know? Like, I don't make dreams, or I don't think about dreams that are too far-fetched. I always think about dreams that are possible rather than impossible. I don't know. I'm just putting it out there. It's just what she was thinking was super close to delusion already, that it's crazy to fathom that someone actually thinks like that, you know? Next one is, personally, I think that she would, just like what I mentioned, she would have more assets before creating that big of a business. And yeah, I just mentioned that previously, and she doesn't have it. So she doesn't have assets For example, worst case scenario, she was able to indeed loan $40 million from Fortress, built ADF, and then ADF did not turn out to be well. So how is she going to pay $40 million from Fortress? I would say that if you do have assets, you're going to sell that first in order to pay off the loan that you got from that, right? So those are my things about Anna Delvey and why she isn't a true businesswoman, why she isn't an entrepreneur, because she always keeps on saying that word. I would say that this is not a good thing to say, especially if she is listening to this. But I would say that she is more close to a philanthropist than a businesswoman. What's the name of the Nora something? So that Nora woman who she lived for quite a while, she's closer to that than being a businesswoman and a real entrepreneur. Because I would think Nora has a very chill life, right? She doesn't really go around and go to work, but she has a lot of money. And so she was closer to that spitting image of Nora than being an entrepreneur and a businesswoman. Because I would really think that if you have a business that successful or planning a business to be that expensive, starting with a $40 million of a capital, you would be hustling day and night. You know what I mean? Like Elon Musk, for example, that guy is renowned to be the richest man on earth by Forbes, but is not chilling out like crazy, just sleeping in the Tesla manufacturing company and like living his life there. And had a divorce because of that, apparently. But yeah, that's just exactly what I think. So if Anna Delvey is not a true businesswoman, let's also flip to the other side of the coin and talk about what she is good at. Because she is for sure good at a lot of things, or else she wouldn't be able to put up the image that she had. So number one, she's good at finding solutions to things, or better yet, finding her way out of things. So when something comes up, she always knows what to say. Haven't you noticed? So when something comes up, she always knows what to say, like, run it again. So if the credit card fails, she would always say, run it again. It's just your system. And then there was one time that she had a dinner with Neff. Was it her name? The one that was working at 12 George, which in real life was actually 11 Howard, right? So super brilliant using of name, because 11 Howard perhaps did not agree to be associated with the Inventing Anna series. They changed the name. Shonda Rhimes changed the name to 12 George. So going back, so she had a dinner with Neff and she said something like, fuck the banks. They were so inconsistent. And I was like, ooh, yeah, she always knows what to say when her card fails, and she always knows how to explain it well. She'd always come up with a logical reason, a valid reason why it didn't work. And even though it is repetitive, people still believe her because her reason is valid. You know, the reason that she puts out every time her card fails is valid. She knows what she is saying. Like she happens to always say something that is logical. And so that's why people believe her. So that's one of the things that she's good at. Second one, in accordance to her finding her way out of things, she's also really good at persuasion. I remember the scene where she was still with Chase, this tech guy, and Chase was dumb. Oh my God. Like he just looks like he knows his shit, but he's not even handsome. Plus, he does not know what he's talking about. And so Anna Delvey came in to rescue him, being able to close a deal with that one of the rich guys in the yacht. And dude, did she sell the guy, or did she convince the guy to invest in Wake? Better than anyone. It's crazy that she was able to do that. She is convincing. It's crazy. Her charm and the way she persuades other people. My God. Or at least Julia Garner was able to do a really good acting on that one. I cannot tell for sure, because I did watch a couple of videos about the real Anna Delvey or Anna Sorokin. She's very articulate. And yeah, she's super straight to the point. She doesn't give a shit about what other people say about her. And she just keeps on going and going and going and going. Yeah. at least when it comes to the series, she was able to defend herself, super articulate. And what are you wearing? You look Paul. Just those words are so iconic. And yeah, it's legit. I'm even trying to understand how people really are saying yes to her every single time. That's what I'm trying to figure out all throughout the movie. I was so confused. Why are people saying yes? Why is, Alan Reed just allowed this whole thing to happen and just signed the paper like it was nothing? I do not understand. Although in some ways Anna Delvey became manipulative, especially that time when they had a scene with Alan Reed and she was talking about Alan Reed's daughter, and because Alan Reed was too attached with his daughter Julia, now it's like becoming a manipulation rather than persuasion, because she's already good at persuasion in itself, and so she was able to carve out really good words in order to convince Alan Reed to sign the papers and whatnot. So there's that. Alrighty. So those are my opinions about Anna Delvey, Anna Sorokin, or whatever you want to call her, inventing Anna. In itself, this series, super awesome work by Shonda Rhimes. Of course, why would people go crazy for Grey's Anatomy if Shonda Rhimes wasn't awesome? And yes, you guys, I hope that you learned something out from this podcast, talking about how a scam artist's mind is evolving into a crazy master plan. So I hope that I was able to enlighten you and make you think about things for a second. Like, yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's actually true. And if I did make you say that, that's awesome. This is how I untangle movies and series, apparently. I watch movies and I just really untie the knot and go deeper into how people think. That's why I love true story movies, because this shit actually happened in real life. This is how people think. And it makes me also double check my thoughts, like, oh my God, I am thinking kind of the same way with this. And so I snap myself out of it, think about something else entirely. So there's that, you guys. Thank you so much for listening to this podcast. Ooh, and by the way, before I leave, oh my God. So the School for Online Coaches already has a date. It's going to be open on June 1st. So June 1, we will be opening the School for Online Coaches, where it's going to be super amazing because it's going to really be a school, basically. So it's a virtual school, online classes, that kind of stuff. A lot of the lessons, however, is going to be pre-recorded, but there are going to be group coaching calls. Plus, the graduation rites are going to be in person here in Cebu City, which I'm super excited about. And yeah, we're really going to be creating a school for online coaches so that if they are not TSOC certified, for example, you're thinking about enrolling in an online course and you're not sure if this person is legit or not, you just have to double check if they are certified by the School for Online Coaches, and then you will know that they are legit. Something of that sort. So I'm super excited for this one, and it's happening very soon. I'm going to be creating something that I haven't done before, which is freaking scary. But yeah, if it doesn't scare you, then you are not dreaming big enough. As long as it's realistic, okay? Just try not to think about loaning $40 million just to create something that is not solving other people's problems. I'm talking about you, Anna Delvey. Oh my God! No, I'm just kidding. Please do not shut down this podcast. Do not shut down podcast. Do not shut down the podcast. Oh, whatever. Okay. But yeah, here's to the end of the podcast. I'm going to see you in the next episode.